and welcome to Live Life, a Forbes Middle East podcast coming to you from the Global Health Exhibition in Riyadh. I'm Nil Qassas, and today joining me is Mike Champion, the CEO of Tahaluf. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Mike.
Well, thanks for having me on, Lena. Much appreciated.
The theme of the Global Health Exhibition 2025 is Invest in Health. And against the backdrop of so much international business currently being done in Saudi Arabia, what makes this such a buoyant market across all business sectors, not just health?
Tahaluf is the largest exhibition organizer in Saudi Arabia and one of the largest in the Middle East. And actually, I'm very happy to announce on this podcast that if you were to take Tahaluf's revenues this year, according to Stacks Consultancy, that would make Tahaluf already one of the top 20 organizers in the world by revenue alone. We think that's a fantastic achievement to have done that in just a couple of years since we were founded. But really, it's I can't take all the credit for that. It's partially because of two factors, well, actually three. The first factor is the market conditions in Saudi Arabia, particularly the market conditions that have been created through the Vision 2030, the transformation away from hydrocarbons into a more mixed economy, and all of the weight and power and sort of motivation and force behind that to get that working as enacted by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. And I'd say the second factor is that Tahaluf only really works in strategic markets. So all of our events are ones that are critical to the vision, also ones that in any country really, they would consider them to be critical markets. So you don't see Tahaluf doing sort of old-fashioned trade shows. What we tend to do are things like the Global Health Exhibition, things that are going to make a meaningful impact on the economy and on people's lives, in quality of life. We have other events, for example, like Cityscape, which is coming up in a couple of weeks' time. I personally think our events are doing well, is that we've got a fantastic team. The team who are working at Tahaluf, we have a 96% retention rate. So it's the same team pretty much every single year. They make a load of mistakes in the first year, and the next year they don't make as many mistakes, and then they build upon it, and the events get better and better because they've learned from those errors. They're empowered to do what they're enfranchised and empowered to do really what they want to in terms of a creative output, in terms of being able to build what they want to for the event.
The Global Health Exhibition is ultimately about creating a platform where leaders from healthcare, government, technology, and business can converge to help decide the international future of healthcare. Since 2022, Tahaluf has been key to providing a platform for all of these entities to come together across various business sectors. Can you tell us how festivalisation works?
Festivalisation is a trend happening in the events trade at the moment, worldwide, okay? And we like to think that actually, at Tahaluf, we were pretty much very early movers in that trend. If you take the old-fashioned sort of example of what an exhibition was, and by the way, a lot of companies still follow this model. This is a trade show. This is purely buyers coming to meet sellers. And although there is a market for that and brings that market together, to give you an analogy, there's nothing really much different to having, that being the physical manifestation of a large catalog is about creating an experience that makes people want to come to the event rather than them being mandated or forced to come to the event by their boss, for example. There's a range of activities there. It's not all about entertainment. It's not all about having fun. It's not necessarily all about the social either. Those are very important when you're talking about festivalisation, because in those activities, you actually often make some of the best contacts and the best connections, often through serendipity, than you can do through curated meetings, one-on-one in a business environment. But also, it's also ensuring that people who have come for those very focused meetings, they have them delivered in a highly professional and curated fashion. So you'll hear a lot at the moment, Lena, about people wanting to use AI as a method of disrupting and improving events. That's going to happen, and it will have an impact. But there's nothing better than a curated concierge service of actually speaking to your most important investors who are flying in from around the world, establishing and finding out exactly who they need to meet, then speaking with a large team of people who are working with the startups and also working with the companies here, and actually really tailoring a bespoke series of meetings, guidance that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince wanted this country to be a global exhibitions hub, a global entertainment and B2B hub. So what we wanted to do from the very outset was set a standard, which was, some of the stages, some of the activities, some of the, the standards that you get in other countries that have settled and been acceptable there shouldn't be acceptable here.
Yeah.
We need to set a standard from the very outset. So just from the look and feel, you'll see that over here, if you go to a lot of other exhibitions around the world, this is much more sort of impactful. Okay, people invest a lot more.
There's more to experience.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, exactly. And I think that's because from an early stage, we really encouraged that, as well. Yeah. I mean, just before we go into that, there's a real sort of company finances reason for this. We've always said from the very beginning that we will reinvest a lot of our profits into the look and feel and the standard of the events. So we don't make quite as much operating profit margin as some of our competitors do. We don't make quite as much operating profit margin as many of the large scale exhibitions organizers and live events organizers around the world do. Part of that is because, we're doing a lot to enhance the venues over here. The other half of it is because actually we want the best speaker faculty. We want people coming into Saudi Arabia to treat them extremely well when they arrive. We want them to leave and go, that was brilliant. We want to come back. So half of our shareholders are linked with the government. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince is the chairman of the Events Investment Fund. And although they want to return on their investment, they also want to ensure that Saudi Arabia is seen in a really good light and what the quality of the brands that we build here are world class.
The revenue of Tahaluf is set to grow again by more than 35% to well over $200 million, which is very impressive. That's a huge number. How healthy is the business and can you sustain this amazing growth rate much more in the future?
Well, you're asking questions, we consolidate into a PLC. And so there are times in the year in which I can give you the full details and full answers about the performance of Tahaluf. What I can say is you're completely right. This year, our revenues will be well above $200 million. And our growth this year will be above 35% and climbing. Last year, again, we had a very high growth rate. And what we've seen since Tahaluf was founded in January 2023, it was announced before that, but it was founded in January 23, is a continuous revenue growth, but also cost discipline, a really high professionalization of the finances of the business and how we sort of control that aspect of the business as we go into maturity. So you're seeing our operating profit margin also increase by several points every single year into what looks like actually an international, good standard for
even though you guys don't even prioritize that, you prioritize, bringing a brilliant experience to everyone.
Exactly. So, I think this is particularly a reason why so many of our competitors sometimes struggle to come into this market, because they'll come into the market immediately saying, for example, we want to make a 30 or a 35% operating profit margin from day one. Okay, otherwise it's going to be margin dilutive for their whole portfolio. So they come into the market, they try and make it at 35% or something like this. They realize that actually they can't for an event of a particular scale. And so they start cutting corners, and they would start to, for example, use slightly sort of more affordable and value, sort of more affordable look and feel and that sort of thing. And when you go down that sort of route, it's very obvious that actually what they're doing is they're leading first with an operating profit in mind, rather than trying to build a very strong brand, which is recognized, which will become recognized globally.
Yeah.
We've always taken the opinion, let's launch into the market. The operating profit will follow once we've created a very nice brand and it's strong enough. And we know that once we get brands to a particular scale, ones that are large enough, then the operating profit is fine. It's acceptable.
And that all ties into Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, correct?
Well, it does in several ways, because half of our shareholders, not really pure play commercial entities. One is an investment fund, so it does expect a return on investment, but it's also a government fund, and so it wants quality from the products that it's invested in. And we also have the Saudi Federation for Cybersecurity Programming and Drones, And they're extremely conscious about wanting, the brands that we create to be really sort of enhancive to Saudi Arabia, to really build its image up, and to, and to reflect well on the country. And quite right, it should. It's sometimes, quite arresting for me. It's nice to work in a commercial environment where actually people are very, very concerned to ensure that, it's not all about profit and extraction of value and stuff like that.
Creativity that goes behind it.
Yeah, but that's why I would say it is aligned to Expo 2030. There's no way that we would launch an event just because it's profitable. We only launch events that are aligned to strategic things that actually have a positive impact on the on the country. And if you look at the events that we've launched since January 2023, the economic impact of all of them is $17.6 billion. Okay, $17.6 billion is more, by the way, than the Qatar World Cup.
That's very impressive.
And the difference is that our events will continue on an annual basis going forward and only get larger. We're very proud of that. We have 1 million visitors to our events every year. We bring in 100,000 individuals just from abroad, flying into the country. And so, they're here, they're spending a lot of money, but they're also leaving going, do you know what, Saudi was amazing. I've never been here before, and look what it's doing. And they feel really positive about it. We're really satisfied that we're contributing towards the Vision 2030.
Thank you so much for joining us here today, Mike. It was an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.